You've noted that there's been quite a few changes in the passing planets. What changes are we seeing there?
Well, when the second sun got here in the late 2011, and we had the CME blowbacks in 2012. That was our sun blowing stellar material back to the larger other sun in an electrical connection. Now, when that all happened, all of the planet's axes tipped drastically. Now, of course, NASA is not telling you this, but it was a brief. They, briefly announced that the axis and such is tipped. But all of the planets have done that, and that's because that larger magnet. Now, a lot of people were noticing early in 2011, 2010 that the sun was coming up in the northeast sky, and it was really weird, and the timetables were off, and why are the birds singing at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning? Well, the birds have a different point of view, and they are seeing the light of that second sun even before us humans did. And I'm amazed to this day that everybody doesn't notice how weird the sun looks currently right now. And all you have to do is just go out in the middle of the afternoon, come almost 3 o'clock, and look up at the sun, and it is totally not right. But that is because there's planets in the way, and we're looking at the dark side of these planets because they're within the Goldilocks zone between us and the sun. Now, all the planets have tipped. All the planets are heating up because of this second sun. Now, at our different tipped axes, if including Earth, and you look at the jet stream right now in the northern hemisphere, and then you look at the jet stream in the southern hemisphere, which used to go opposite directions, are now going one direction. And that happened majorly as of about the turn of this year. And this is, if you look over Africa, the jet stream is flowing backwards. And if you look over Australia, the Arctic jet stream is flowing backwards. And at one point in time, about 2 weeks ago, Arctic jet stream ran from Antarctica all the way up over the Mexican Rockies and all the way over our east coast, which is what caused that huge major storm that went off in Europe last week and the week before. So we're seeing extremities in our weather because our planet is majorly tipped, and our winter access point at the axis is tipped, and therefore Australia is having the heat waves and the fires because their winter angle of light is almost a direct dead on from the two major suns, or if you want to, the co-orbiting pair, and they're frying because they're getting direct sunlight that they don't normally. Because we're closest to our sun during winter. It has to do with the orbital oval that we move on and how our axis is in comparison to the summer axis versus the winter axis, if you follow me.
Shouldn't we, or can we maybe, be able to track the orbits of these other planets and know exactly where they're going to be at any given moment?
Well, I do a monthly drawing on my site, and they don't, and we've learned over the last 10 years that they don't change that often. Now, what they've done is they've come down. When we first started getting sightings from Antarctica at Newmeyer Station was the best one with the live cams, and of course they've limited some of that access now too. We originally watched it every day on Montana Skywatchers 1 on their live cams, and we had debate parties. And we first started seeing them coming up from there. And then once they broke the horizon line in North America, we started using live cams in Mexico and Australia and et cetera, and started using other live cams for shots. They have spiraled in front of us in our view from 2009 in 4 cycles of spirals. And then when they got to a certain distance from us, they went to the left, and then they went to the right, and then they went to the left, and then they went to the right, and then they came up in our faces, and then Nibiru went away from us, and then the rest of the following tail planets rotated in almost like a spiraling snake in front of us over that first major pass year, which was approximately 2014, 2015. And then that's when we started seeing Isatum and Nepacity and Attu. And then we got a first views of Attu's moon because we didn't even know Attu even had a moon literally until 2015 when it was close enough where we could actually start documenting events in the cloud patterns and the base cloud patterns. Now, a large part of how you see these planets up in the sky is by understanding the base clouds, and I have a video on YouTube. It's called Understanding the Skies, Edition 1, Samuel Hofmann, I think. And you can, that's look, I can give you a copy of that if you'd like. And once you understand the base cloud patterns of how these ion clouds or drop-off clouds on the bottoms of these planets, when they come within our ionosphere, I can't say our atmosphere, I'd have to say our ionosphere, they have formed these repetitive patterns that over the 10 years we've all learned. And we see these cloud patterns in the sky up there, and God, there isn't another cloud in the sky except for that one, and boy, that one is Nebesity. Or hey, we know that one to be Attu, and it's ion drop tail. Or hey, that big open core is Saru. Or hey, Nibiru does this fingering thing. So we've learned what the planets look like, even though you really, at some point in time, cannot see the actual planet except the dark side. We see the surrounding cloud, base cloud. And then in some cases, we see the crescent. And then in other cases, we see a half full on. And in some cases, as of 2016 and 17, we started seeing the first planetary passes where we saw the full facials, where we went, oh, we know who that is. There's a full facial of that planet. And then, of course, they each have their own colors, their own land masses. Some have land masses, some don't. And now in Nibiru, we've got a lot of really cool landmass pictures. Sarah, we don't have a lot of pictures of because Sarah was briefly here, and she was, when she was here in 215, 216, she was a lot over the top of us. And she has this intensely thick, illuminated core that is just so bright you can't see a lot of her ground. Now Nebesity is green. It's got obviously some volcanic activity because it's got these puffs through its atmosphere, and it's almost like spotted Dalmatian because it's got these puffs through the atmosphere that show some sort of volcanic activity. Attu's moon is very white, and it has all these pock marks, and you can't miss it. Attu has some stripes in there at an angle, but it's purple. It's definitely purple, and that's how we finally knew what the planets were and what to name them when all of these things, all this information started matching some other information I'd gotten in 2009 off the internet, and my Pleiadian meeting / abduction scenario where I got all this information, which we also discussed on previous shows. And they should go back and look if they want this information